Standing here today, I'm certain that many of you have come across articles with titles like 10 Reasons to Disconnect from the Internet, or 5 Reasons You Should Delete Your Facebook Account Forever. The instructional nature of these messages strikes me as really unrealistic, and actually I think that many of these articles miss the point entirely. What's most interesting about these articles is that they go viral on social media, the very sites that we actually should be deleting, reportedly. So today I'm hoping to discuss the reasons that we may feel compelled to engage in social media, despite knowing the grave pitfalls to doing so. But first, allow me to explain where my passion for this topic began. So, I've always been adverse to change. I like my routines and I like certainty. To combat my fear of losing control, I choose to travel. I place myself in positions of slight yet manageable discomfort to ensure that I never become too complacent or comfortable. So last semester, I studied abroad at Oxford University, and this experience was wonderful. It provided me with newfound perspective and matchless experiences, but it also provided me with a really unique, particular challenge. So my past experiences at Denison University included me engaging in residential life. So I was a residential life staff member, essentially, and this position placed me in constant connection to my peers. My role in this community was to be a helper, a resource. I was accountable to and responsible for a lot of people. So when I left, I felt really disconnected, and it was a really abrupt disconnection. So I wondered, who am I outside of this role in a community that means so much to me? So when I went abroad, I tried to maintain those interpersonal relationships. And during the first 3 weeks, I was glued to my computer screen, something that was really foreign to me. I've always used social media, but more so as an enhancement to my social life and not necessarily a replacement for real interpersonal connection. But that's what I was doing. So I used social media, Facebook, Instagram, too frequently to maintain those relationships, and I'm sure you're not surprised to hear that that didn't make me feel great. It's interesting that my means for connection became something that made me feel more isolated because it was only the illusion of companionship. So I decided to take a social media sabbatical. And what that means is I didn't hide my computer or delete my Facebook or anything really radical. I just took a step back and I chose to be more present, left my phone behind, and it was interesting. I made a lot of new friends and I integrated more fully into my new community, which is so important. I don't think I realized the burden of social media until that weight had been lifted. And in my new state of freedom, I had to ask myself, why do we feel compelled to stay so connected? Well, there are actually 7 psychological reasons that we may do so, whether we're seeking acknowledgement, inclusion, approval, appreciation, assurance, attention, or acclaim. I think that when I took my social media sabbatical, I was trying to meet those unmet needs offline rather than online. So first, I'd like to acknowledge the positive effects of social media. Doctors David Johnson and Gunther Kress say that electronic communication obliterates both time and distance. So the #1 advancement of this technological age is efficiency. We have ever-increasing information at our fingertips, and we can connect with family and friends from all over the world. I think that's something to celebrate. Also, we can engage in online activism, which is new and exciting. It's nice because these spaces give voices to those who wouldn't necessarily have the opportunity or a platform to share their opinions or things that concern them. And I think this was great. Also, I think that LinkedIn has revolutionized the ways in which we network. With the click of a button, I can connect with people in my field and learn new things and make new connections, and that's also great. Lastly, I think that if you are a part of a marginalized community and you are seeking a space for virtual dialogue, social media can do that for you. And that's something that should be celebrated because people seek opportunities to engage with those of like minds or those who share in a similar struggle. So while there are many positive reasons or positive effects of social media, I think it's also important to note that there are a lot of negative ways social media has permeated our society on a global scale. So the general narrative around social media is that we use it too frequently and that we do so to present carefully curated, crafted, and authentic self-images that are really edited. So we're talking about it, we know this is a problem, but are these conversations serving as functions for change? I don't think so. So my first concern is the curated self-image. I think that people like to post things that others will like and comment on. And to put it in more simple terms, the more likes your selfie receives, the more validated or gratified you will presumably feel. And I'm not sure that this is really new and different. I think that we've always cared about our appearances, but now there's this hyper-awareness about the ways that we present ourselves. And I think that it's interesting, right? It's good that we care about these things, but I think it's also important to note that we're balancing various expectations for the ways that we present ourselves. So we're trying to stay relevant to our peers, but we're also trying to stay sanitized and appropriate for future employers and our family members. And this presents specific, unique challenges. Next, the always-on phenomenon. So, even when we're not online, I'm not sure that we're ever really offline, if that makes sense. I think that people are always connected to some kind of network. So as Dana Boyd would say, we're always on. And I think that we use social media as a sort of escapism, as a band-aid for loneliness, if you will. I think that we mindlessly and mind-numbingly scroll through these social media sites. And it's interesting because when we do so, these social media sites, when we look at these social media sites, we're essentially scrolling through pictures of joyous events that we presumably didn't attend ourselves. So our aim to find connection is actually backfiring and making people feel more lonely. My next concern is dinner table etiquette. This sounds really nitpicky, but as Dr. Sherry Turkle would say, we're alone together. So picture yourself at a restaurant. Look around at the families and the friends and the couples that are all looking down at their phones. They're looking down and they're scrolling through social media, they're Snapchatting pictures of their food, they're tweeting about the poor restaurant service, they're taking dinner time selfies, what have you, right? So this seems weird to me because we're not really engaging this face-to-face connection. And I want to be really clear about something. The nonverbal communication that you show someone when you look at your phone, whether it's to send a message or scroll through, the nonverbal communication of this is whoever I'm talking to on this device is either more important or more interesting than the person in front of me. So when I say it like that, obviously everyone's going to agree that this is rude. Sure, but my concern is that our societal norms are changing. The ways that we behave, those expectations are different. And I'm not sure that this obviously rude behavior will be rude in a few years. And that concerns me. I'm not sure that I like the idea of living in a society where that's okay. Next, the lack of true dialogue. So social media provides this really interesting space where we can weigh in on issues that are important to us or interesting. And it's interesting to me that when we post articles, we do so as a means of speaking up, and it's really an act of self-identification. We're not necessarily conversing, we're just connecting, and we want to be understood as, this is who I am and this is what I believe in. And even if you are posting articles on Facebook or any sort of social media site as a way to engage in conversation, I'm not sure that this is the best means to be doing so, because when we miss out on face-to-face connection, we miss out on the opportunity to notice nuanced body language and vocal tone, and we forfeit the ability to look one another in the eyes. And I think that when we do that, we miss out on the opportunity to notice our shared humanity. So, this one's my favorite, the oversharing epidemic. So we live in a society of oversharing. If you look at the ways that parents curate their children's online presence before they're even born, like in utero, it's interesting because these kids can't really consent to the way that they're being introduced to the world, and that's debatably concernable, but concerning. I think that what's interesting is that not only can these kids not consent to their online personas, but it's really excessive. So there are actually 1,000 pictures of a kid online before they turn 5 years old. So a little creepy, I don't know, but I'm a little concerned that it's actually not even safe. But again, this isn't new and different. This is something that people have always done. People love to brag, share information about themselves. That's interesting. They like to share about their wealth, their good fortune, their perfect children. And yeah, I bet their kids are great. But I'm not sure that that's the point. I think that social media encourages braggadocious tendencies. So I can't blame these people for doing what social media has intended for them to do, because these sites that we willingly and freely join are actually sites that own the content that we post. So they sell our information to other websites, at least they have the opportunity to sell our information to other websites, and they can make money. So they benefit, and we're really falling prey to large corporation in the name of community, which is interesting because it's not actually connecting us. So after processing all of this, I have to ask myself again, why do we keep engaging in these sites when we know that they're overwhelmingly bad for us? Well, I think it's because we fear losing connection, and we really believe that these sites actually do connect us. So if we fear losing connection, then it makes sense that we wouldn't want to delete our Facebook account or our Instagram account because we would feel out of the loop. And sure, maybe we actually would, because in our new normal, the expectation is that we'll learn information about each other and ourselves. We'll learn all this information online. So if someone wants to know where I'm going to grad school, maybe I should post something about that, because that's the expectation. I should be sharing this new information, and that's where people should look for it. I think also it's interesting that when we consider that human beings fear being forgotten, they don't want to be left out. That phrase, out of sight, out of mind, really applies here. So if someone can't invite me to an event on Facebook, I won't know it's happening, and I therefore won't go. If someone can't send me a Facebook message or include me in a group message on Facebook or some sort of social media medium, then I won't know what's happening, and maybe I won't be included. And if social media can't prompt someone to wish me a happy birthday, then maybe they won't. Maybe they won't even know it's my birthday. So I think as people, we want to connect with others in ways that are convenient for them. And I think that we fear if we don't, we'll be forgotten. So my suggestion is to consider, ask yourselves, what am I missing in my offline life that I'm seeking to find through using social media platforms? You know, when I took my social media sabbatical back in Oxford, I instantly felt better, more connected, and I met my unmet needs through an offline platform. This actually worked for me. And I think that as people, we need to work on engaging with social media sites as tools for social enhancement and not for a replacement for these interpersonal connections that are crucial to our happiness. So I want to encourage everyone and leave you with a few parting words. I hope that you'll use social media as a means of self-reflection and approach it from that perspective. Be critically aware of the ways that you're engaging and seek balance, because we are in charge of to what extent we are showing up online and showing up for our lives. Thank you.